Thank you. And Cathaoirleach, if by agreement we could share time, myself and my Senate colleague Robbie Gallagher. And thanks to Minister. 2 and 2.
2 and 2. Okay. I'll gong the bell when you're 2 minutes up. So.
Yeah. The issue I'm raising is in relation to the terms and conditions of local authority members. As the Minister would be aware, that in the last number of years there are 678 less local authority members than there was when the reform of local government took place under the previous government. There are now only 949 local authority members. We used to have 114 local authority areas, including town councils. That has been reduced to 31. And we hold the very sad distinction of having less public representatives per head of population than any other country in Western Europe. There is one local authority member for every 5,000 members of the public, as opposed to in an area like France, where there are one local authority member for every 100 people, where they take local government very seriously, and every town and village and crossroads has somebody who represents the community at a local authority level. And yet we have not only taken away a lot of the local authority members in local authority areas, but also in relation to the terms and conditions, which we have seen reduced drastically over the last number of years in the reform. And the Minister came into the House previously and outlined why he was discriminating against those who were in the cities of Dublin, the cities of Galway and Cork, and not treating them equally in his proposals. And what I was hoping is that you would outline to the House, has he fulfilled his pledges to us, the terms and conditions that he said that he will put in place, which, by the way, are not near enough and don't go far enough in relation to the increased workload that local authority members now face and the amount of meetings that they now have to attend. Thank you, and I'd like to share my time with you.
Gora Maigat, Cathaoirleach.
Sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Tara Boyden Falcha, Corrod Kuji and Chat Shaw, imagine. Minister, I suppose at the outset, I would like to concur totally with the sentiments outlined by my learned colleague here, Senator Daly. It's very disappointing that we find ourselves back in the House here raising this issue again. We had all hoped at this point that there would have some real and tangible progress to report, but unfortunately that's not the case. The reality of things at the moment is that we are chasing county councillors away out of local democracy, because the reality is that in order to do your job properly at the moment, it is, as I'm sure you realise yourself, a full-time job in effect. But there's no way that you can hold down a job properly and be a local representative at the same time. It's just not possible at the moment. And all we're looking for here is fair play, a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. No local representative goes into local government to make money, that's for sure. And all we're looking for is that the vital role that they play on a daily basis is recognised, and that they get full recompense for it.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you to both senators for raising this issue, and the Minister sends his apologies. Effective local government structures are an essential part of our democracy. In turn, effective local government cannot be achieved without the hard work and commitment of elected members in service of their communities. And I will join in the senators in commending the work of many local authority members throughout the country. A range of financial supports is in place to assist councillors in their vital work. These include a representational payment, fixed annual expenses allowances, travel and subsistence allowances, a mobile phone allowance, a retirement gratuity, as well as conference and training provisions. The programme for partnership government includes a commitment to review the supports provided to councillors in consultation with representative bodies to enable councillors to continue their important work. Shortly after assuming office, Minister Coveney met with representatives of the Association of Irish Local Government and the Local Authority Members Association to discuss the view of their members that positive consideration should be given to improving the range of supports available. In January of this year, taking into account the considerable additional workload, as the senators have pointed out, on councillors since 2014, 2014, local government reforms were introduced, and Minister Coveney announced 2 important changes to better support councillors in their role as public representatives. Firstly, a municipal district member's allowance worth €1,000 per annum is being introduced in the 25 local authorities that now have municipal districts, as these areas were most affected by the reduction in councillor numbers since 2014. Secondly, a new vouched annual expenses allowance of up to a maximum of €5,000 is being introduced, which councillors may choose to opt in for in place of the existing unvouched fixed rate annual expense allowance worth approximately €2,500. These new measures must be implemented from July of this year, following the necessary legislative amendments being put in place in consultation with the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform. The AILG, on behalf of its members, has called for a degree of flexibility to be applied to the new annual expenses allowance by retaining an unvouched element, while amounts above this will be claimed on a vouched basis. Minister Coveney is taking this matter under consideration and has asked his department to examine this proposal in the context of the arrangements in place for members of the Oireachtas. Minister Coveney's department is also examining the revised travel rates for public servants recently announced by the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, so as how to consider best how they can be aligned with councillors' terms and conditions in a manner that is both fair to councillors but also has a clear rationale and is consistent with rates that apply elsewhere. Consultation with the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform and the Revenue Commissioners will be necessary. Again, I want to thank the Senators for raising this issue. The Minister intends to give it his full consideration, and any of the issues raised by the representative associations, he hopes to reach a conclusion in this regard as soon as possible. Thank you.
A brief supplementary, Senator Daly.
Thanks, Minister, for the reply, and I'd like to share the response with my colleague Senator Gallagher and Senator Wilson, who I know is also concerned about this issue in relation to the expenses and the vote, that has been raised in this House before, and there was a number of suggestions put forward. I'm glad that the Minister is looking at the issue in relation to travel rates, and that they should in effect be compatible and should also be rationale. There should be a rationale around them, but I think we'll have to have the Minister back in July to find out what the conclusions are to all these proposals, because there is no distinct answers in relation to some of these, but it is an ongoing issue. I'd like to maybe ask my colleagues, Senator Wilson and Senator Gallagher.
Very briefly, Cahill, thank you for your latitude. Minister, just to thank you very much again for your response, and just one question. Have you any idea, just in relation to the last paragraph there, how soon we can expect the Minister to make an announcement in relation to the issues that we are waiting clarity on?
Just to thank the Senators, it's my understanding that this will be in the month of July. However, I will bring this to the Minister's attention and ask him maybe to revert directly back to you. Okay.
Thank you, Minister.